Wow. Hi.
It's so good to see you.
Oh my
Hi.
God. It's been how long?
2 weeks.
How are
Exactly.
you? How are you doing?
I have been on fire for the
Wow.
past 2 weeks. Like life force energy is just pulsing through me. It feels incredible.
Wow.
How about you?
I mean, in many ways, integrating back in reality and
Mhm.
saying no to a lot of things that, disturb me or change my frequency. So it's like there's a change. And I think this change, I don't know. We can't say it's because of Vipassana and, the course that we did, but I don't know. I guess we'll unfold it, but good. Overall, really good. More calm, more
Good.
grounded. And I think that wasn't the case before we ended up at the center.
Mm.
Oh,
I had like the opposite effect where I think I was saying no a lot more and now I'm saying yes a lot more.
wow. Wow. So welcome,
Mm.
welcome. And I cannot believe that we actually had the same exact idea. So I hope this is not the first and last episode that we'll have. You never know.
You
And
never know.
nowadays, hopefully we'll just say yes more for a lot of things the life offers to us, right? So it just brings us on. So welcome. And I also
Thank you.
honestly never plan on these sessions. They just come and I just say yes to them and I kind of almost like feel my way through it rather than like using my mind to structure them. So
I love it.
feel feel free to take exits. Feel free to fly off. I'll bring you right back. All right,
Amazing.
cool. So tell me, what is this life force driving you in life for last 2 weeks
It
after
has
Vipassana?
it has been driving me towards relationships
Wow.
and just spending time with people and giving back in by ways of like my presence and just being with people because it's really what I think is why we're here is like this connection piece. And I
Hmm.
think I just filled up so much during Vipassana, like so much time with me and like loving myself and being with myself that it just naturally happened. I came back and was like, okay, I'm going to go do this. And now I'm going to go do this. And now I'm going to see this person and I'm going to do this event and I'm going to go to this concert. And there's just all of these opportunities. And before Vipassana, I would have been a lot more mindful of my energy and
Mm.
okay, do I have enough time for me? Do I have downtime? Like, do I have time just to like settle? And it feels like I got that all at Vipassana. I was settled,
Hmm.
and now it's just like, nope, we're good. Let's go.
Let's go. And just a little intro on it. You and I met, I think, was it like 30 minutes before the silence started at 8 p.m.? It was like 7:45 at night, and we ate dinner, and you just looked at me and you were like, so what are you doing here? And I'm like, I only have 10 minutes to tell you. And then for 10 days, we're not going to talk. We're not going to look at each other. We literally only know each other before Vipassana for 10, 15 minutes.
Yeah,
And after Vipassana for what? Just like an hour?
probably an hour,
Wow.
maybe
So,
90 minutes.
oh, the bathroom
The
talk was
bathroom
like,
talk.
okay. So I'm curious. I'm really curious. There's a lot of people that ask me about how was it? And
Hmm.
it's, during our course, as we were listening to, how this almost like is very helpful technique to learn and it's shared for that many years and that many centuries almost like and it
Hmm.
spreads out organically and it almost sounds like you need to be ready to take on the amount of concentration and focus for such a long period of time and
Hmm.
so much patience and so much almost like a shield of patience, strength, determination, dedication. And something has to get you to that point to be full on. Absolutely, yes, this is the time. that I'm going to do it. Otherwise, and I don't know how is that for you. So I'm curious, how did you get to that point, that moment of, I'm ready, this is the
Mhm.
time, and I'm going to go through it. 10 days, silence, 120 hours almost of total meditation, total surrender, and really almost like without even knowing, this was our first seat and sitting at the center here in California. So I'm just like curious, what got you to that point to say yes and to be 100% heck yeah for this?
It took me 6 years
Why so
from
long?
learning what Vipassana was to saying yes to this experience.
Mm,
I went down a path of so many different other modalities, and Vipassana was kind of in the background, but it never felt like the right time.
mm,
I think at first it was the time commitment, finding 10 days where I didn't want to go on vacation or travel or do something else with my time. Then it became about maybe in the past like 2 or 3 years, more so about like, am I mentally ready for that? Instead of just kind of like the physical, tangible logistics of it. Oh, wait, is my like inner world actually ready for that? And
mm,
it
mm,
wasn't until last year that I felt that way, that I did feel ready. And 2024, that was my goal, was to do Vipassana. And when I went to go apply, it actually was, there were no more spots. So that's how I made my way into the spring 2025 group, not realizing you had to apply so long in advance in order to get a spot. So that's why it took me so long. And I'm glad that it worked out that way, because if I joined 6 years ago, I would have had a radically different experience.
mm.
It would have been beautiful. It would have been amazing, I'm sure. But I'm glad to have done it now, having done so many other things along the way.
And do you mind just, I'm almost like, there's like certain preparations in all of us, and it
Hmm.
comes with doing certain things and almost like exploring the self, or I don't know, almost like wondering, who am I? What am I here? Eventually, we're all going to ask that question, right? And who knows where we're going to end up going. So, what are the modalities that you tried before you were ready for Vipassana?
Yoga, meditation, Reiki, somatic therapy, network spinal care, talk therapy, ecstatic dance, journaling, meditation.
Yeah.
There's probably a few more. I've tried so many different things. Equine therapy. Um, yeah, there's probably more in there, but those are like the main ones.
And do you think it was very important for you to go through all these modalities before you settled and you were ready completely fully to kind of explore something so radically different like
I think for
Vipassana?
my journey, yes. I'm glad that it worked out that way, but I don't think that's necessary for everyone.
Mm.
I think I was expecting to have this like huge breakthrough, like spiritual awakening at Vipassana. I was like, I'm gonna figure out my 5 year life plan. I'm gonna know where I'm gonna be in 10 years, and I'm gonna have this amazing clarity. And that just didn't happen.
And this was before you came to Vipassana?
Yes,
'Cause
that
I
was the
remember
expectation.
I remember you actually asked me on it. You were like, "What are you expecting from here? You're like, what do you want to do? What do you want to do after that?" And I don't remember what I told you, but I remember what you mentioned, and you're like, "I need to set my future straight, or something related to it. I need to get over the past, or whatever that happened in the past, and I need to get ready to move forward. Something in that matter." Wow, because you were ready. You were
Oh,
very ready.
oh, I was so ready. And what's funny is I got what I wanted just in a completely different way.
Okay.
There wasn't like a vision or a plan. It was more so like a settling of everything that's already here. And
Mm.
that's like almost better than what I wanted and what I expected.
Yeah. So it was completely not something that your mind thought of. It was just a new way for your
Mhm.
mind. All right. So before we dive into what happened during the Vipassana, I want to really touch base on this like moment before the silence started and
Mm.
before the technique was in the morning. Because we had what was like 8 p.m. And 8 p.m. we had a dinner. Everybody was chirping loudly in that cafeteria just to say the last words. Almost
Mhm.
felt like everything the mind wanted to say, and everybody was just like high pitch, elevated tone on the voice, very much in the mind. And suddenly, boom, 8 p.m. starts. We do not talk until 11 days later. What was the feeling in your body, your heart? And were you aware that your mind was freaking out? That was completely maybe almost like delusional about what's about to happen because you knew some part of you knew that you're about to enter into a completely different technique for 10 days, but your mind almost didn't, right? That's how it felt for me. But my body was just so settled already. And I
Mm.
had this like really calm energy to enter into something as if like, oh, I know this is the right thing at the right
Mhm.
time. Exactly for me. So did you have that moment of awareness that like last 15 minutes to an hour before we entered?
I had a similar experience where I was ready. Like once we stopped talking, it was kind of like, oh, finally. Finally, everyone's quiet. I've been waiting for this. And like weeks before Vipassana, I just like naturally wanted to go on a cleanse. I started naturally detoxing from social media and unplugging a little bit more. And I think I was just like very, very ready. So it was almost like a relief once we went into
Mm.
silence. And then the mind went off, and, we can get into that. But the
Yeah.
moment that it kind of happened, it was almost like this like relieving sensation in the body.
Hmm. Did you have a sense of taking that power back to you? You know how
Mm. I don't think I really truly felt that until the fourth day. It took me a few days to really settle into that.
all right, let's dive in. Okay, so how was what I guess I'll just let you say what it wants to, come out.
Yeah.
But I'm really curious to see what was your evolution through the 10 days, what actually was, what did you become aware of in the beginning? Did you, like me, pronounce yourself crazy in the first 6 days? It's like, I'm crazy. I am absolutely out of my mind because mine was just so persistent. So I'm curious to see what was your evolution throughout the time and how did you get step and step closer to you, to yourself?
Hmm. Right out the gate, I was like super horny, which I was
I
so
love it.
surprised by.
What do you mean, like day one?
Day one, I was like, what? This is what's here? Interesting.
Wait, but this is the sensation in your body.
Sensation in the body.
And where was your mind in day one?
Oh, making up all stories about it.
The real, the true, or unreal?
Both. Both.
Okay. So how did you feel about it? What did you think about it? What was the
Oh, like
awareness?
I shouldn't be feeling this way. Why is this coming up? And then just like looking over at the guys the entire time. It was like I didn't want to just sit and be with myself. It was like wanting to put the attention outward.
Wow.
Hmm.
That was day
Hmm.
one.
Day one.
Okay. And how do you understand it now?
I understand it now with like this almost like this the craving, or like something that we learned in Vipassana was to like you have these cravings and aversions, but to not completely give over to them, right? To stay equanimous and
Hmm.
to not go into them. And so day one, it was like craving, 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 and I could not stop thinking about it.
Wow.
And to then, go through this kind of like evolution of to now understanding like that can be there and it doesn't have to kind of like run away with the mind. Or I can feel
Mm,
that sensation and not like completely get lost in it.
not
That makes
react to
sense.
it, meaning
Not react to it. Yeah.
not like
Hmm.
seeking it proactively and
Hmm.
actioning upon it.
Exactly.
Okay. So do you mind if we deep dive into it? Because,
Sure.
my coaching is all about that exact topic. So I think you're right on point. Let's just open it up a little bit. I think that had happened to me on another on another retreat that I did, and it was a workshop. where suddenly it almost felt like energy. And I didn't understand that my mind was completely almost like a different entity and that it's doing its own thing because it doesn't really know better, right? It knows the chaos, and the chaos is just like all over the place, and it's just going to continuously bombard me, nobody
Hmm.
else. And it's going to seek this like action, 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 go, 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 do, 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 do. And then the sexual energy almost feels very prominent in the body, very persistent and very physical, right? So it feels as the waves coming in, and they're almost, to me, it was very much surrounding the genitalia and the bottom part of the pelvis, and everything was just like so on fire. But my mind didn't know what to make out of it, which I thought was really interesting because in Vipassana, we're taught the mind drives the energy or the sensations and reactions into the body. Then we apply as if we apply emotions, reactions, and then we give it a meaning and narrative, and then we react to it to the world. But I have had a different experience with the sexual energy storming through my body without making sense of it. I was just aware. I didn't know what to do with it. Back then, we moved, we didn't sit in the meditation, but yet suddenly it disappeared 2 days ago. So I'm curious, was your experience similar? And did you get it as the reaction from the mind down to the body? Or did you feel it as a completely external energy that did its own thing as it's completely different entity storming
Mm,
through you?
mm. Such good questions. It felt like, see, to me, like the story's always been like, oh, I shouldn't like feel that in its entirety. And in Vipassana, it's like feeling kind of everything in its entirety, right? Just not making a story about it. And so, really allowing it to like be there and come in its waves, if you will, and not get lost in the mind and try and make up like, oh, I'm like bad for feeling this, or this is wrong, or, like kind of that like good girl archetype that I've been in, in the past, very much so. And it's taken me like a while to kind of like unravel that. And, I think Vipassana really helped with that of just like, this is another sensation like anything else. Can we just like allow it to
Mm.
be here and move through the body? And I think that's another reason why there's been so much life force energy now, because it's like just allowing the sexual energy, the frustrated energy, the happy energy, the sad energy, just letting everything move through.
Mm.
And not staying close to it or making myself wrong for anything. Like, I
Mm.
am just a human and I get to experience all of this. And there's no good or bad necessarily. It just is what it is. And
Yeah.
it gets to be here too. And so that was my experience of it. I think how it came in didn't feel like it was, like storming into the body necessarily, but it was almost like this fire that just got like stoked and continued to like grow, and I couldn't ignore it anymore.
Mm. So you sat and you did not move.
Correct. I
How
didn't.
was sitting and observing it and not moving?
Mm,
You were really
so hard.
disciplined in sitting because you were
Oh
right
my
behind
gosh,
me.
you were too. I thought the same thing about you.
Oh my God, it's so uncomfortable to sit in one position and just not move, not do anything.
Mhm.
But you find your way through it. So how was it observing? And not only the sexual passing through it, almost like, how I see it is like at specific times of our life, something is very alive. So today, a thing will be alive. A thing can be the energy, it can be the memory, it can be the desire, inspiration. Something is alive and wants to come to the top and sit on your stage and be the main character of your movie today. And it changes all the time. So, it's interesting that that was alive for you. And I wonder, is it related to your past?
Oh, it was like right off the bat, and it definitely is related to the past. And it was just so interesting that that came up like first and foremost.
Mm,
Because from there, I started to go into like agitation, frustration, annoyance. Then I kind of worked through it once we hit Vipassana day, and then made my way kind of like back up. And then I came back down, and then I kind of hit
yeah.
an equilibrium place. Um, I think the
Yeah.
sexual energy came first. I mean, probably because I haven't been intimate with someone. in a while. And so that was just like very present for me, that like longing, that desire. And instead of, you know, really allowing it to be this like loneliness, this longing, like I need something outside of myself, like sitting with it, feeling it, and then being able to self source because I could sit with it and be with it and feel it.
Yeah. And you would say that sitting with it for that long, you're talking 10, 12 hours a day, and we don't do that. Like this is not, we don't naturally automatically we run away from all the feelings no matter
Mhm.
how many techniques you know and how many books you read. It's like it's almost like your mind is going to do anything in the power to remove you from feeling these sensations and actually really attuning in into the sensations of the body. And often this is where they get stuck. And, you know, I really like how he explained these lines of the attachments through the water, through the sand, and through the rock. And
Mhm.
when they're so heavy, they almost become part somewhere there behind the stage, maybe in a subconscious. They run the show and we are not even aware. So I wonder, are these memories or maybe cravings often maybe you and I have just this experience together. And
Mhm.
I'm trying to compare it to how I thought. It almost seems like everything that I layered for later,
Mhm.
based on whatever heaviness, almost like mine just went one layer after another, and pulled every single example, the frustration, the anger, the sadness, one after another. So I wonder, was this almost super suppressed or super forgotten as a
Mhm.
part of you that almost like wanted to come out first and foremost?
Definitely.
Wow.
Definitely. Yeah, it's something that was deeper than I thought and something that I thought that I healed or was like over, you know? Like I was like, "Oh, this is back again? Okay, let's look at it, I guess. We'll go into it. I have nothing else to do but sit here."
Yeah.
And those sankharas, what you're talking about, the lines, you know, in the water, in the sand, or in the concrete, it's like that was a deep one in the concrete of just really kind of playing out this pattern of like what that means and how I react to it. And now being able to kind of see it and react in a different way feels really empowering. It didn't feel like
Mhm.
that at first. That's why I said, like,
Mm.
now I'm a little bit more empowered than like when I was first in it. But having that hindsight, I can see it for what it is. And I had like a real life example of like how to test it, where something that would have completely triggered me in the past surfaced after Vipassana, and I had a completely different reaction to it. And I was like,
Wow.
oh, there, it works. Here we go. That's the
Wow.
medicine, is like being able to really see it for yourself. I think in any personal development or like self-growth thing, that's like the true test of, if something really helps you grow, are you now reacting or responding in a different way than you would have in the past? So
Mm.
to just see that as evidence for myself was incredibly empowering.
So good. And you caught yourself. You were aware of it, right? You're like,
Mhm.
wow,
Yep.
I'm good.
Hmm.
And you said something really, really important. And I think, you know, the journey almost, unless this is your path and unless you have 40, 50 years of just complete dedication to a monk life where you dilute your ego to a disappearance and you really, really dedicate, again, you have to have this like calling or this compass that is calling you. This is absolutely what I have to do right now. But we almost, if you don't have this compass or this calling, these things we often think we healed and we yet didn't. And there's so many of
Hmm.
those and they just keep resurfacing back and back again. But what I like to speak on this is it's not that we didn't heal them, rather than there's another part that was missing to be touched. And the beauty in Vipassana really is dedicating the time for the chemical reaction of the body. And you're
Hmm.
sitting in it and you're allowing it 10 day, I mean, who has 10 hours a day, but you're allowing it a little bit and a little bit by a little bit by a little bit. And that time is crucial to allow for something to pass through you, through your body, and process itself chemically.
Truly. Hmm.
Yeah. And how many times we think we healed? We think we healed, but yeah, bam, trigger,
Hmm.
as if like there's a big red button and somebody comes in your life and you're all happy and you want to welcome it, and boom, it gets like presses it right up front. How cool! How
Oh
cool!
yeah. Oh yeah. My ego was huge in the beginning. It was chirping. It was like, I'm not going to learn anything here. I already know this. Oh, they're just teaching somatic work. Oh, now they're trying to disassociate us from our bodies. I should just
Like,
leave. Uh-huh. Uh-huh. And just watching all of that and still being able to, stick with it and really open myself to learn from it. I'm so glad that I did instead of completely like shutting myself off to it. And I think that's what Vipassana does. It really helps you chip away at the ego and chip away at your stories and chip away at, how you see the world so that you can actually see it for what it is.
Totally. So, what made you stay? What made you come back to it again and again? Hmm.
Those like brief euphoric moments
Like,
where you're feeling just like energized and grateful and a good, what we like will call a good sensation or a positive sensation, even though it's just a sensation. But, being able to feel something that actually feels like pleasurable and being like, oh, right, as much as this might be painful or hurt or be super uncomfortable, like there's so much good here too.
hmm,
And like I think that's, like like the micro of what life on the macro is all about, right? Like it's like there's going to be struggles and challenges and pain and hardship, but like we stick around because of the joy and the ecstasy and the pleasure and the connection and the love, and we have to go through all of it to really understand that it's all life and we get to experience it all and be here for it all. And like that's what I came out of Vipassana with, was this extremely positive perspective that I didn't know I needed. It felt
hmm,
as though I took off a cloak of negativity that I had no idea I was wearing.
wow. And that was by coming back and allowing it to come up.
Hmm.
So, how heavy was the cloak?
It it was a cloak that I put on probably 2 or 3 years ago, and that's been sitting on me.
Mm,
And it wasn't, like the weight of the world. It didn't feel like 100 pounds, but it was a good, 20, 25 pounds that like I don't need.
and you didn't even know it was there operating. It was just total unconscious.
Hmm.
So when did this started throughout the Vipassana? When did this started coming up and coming up to your awareness and then dying down slowly, almost like evaporating, almost like changing the texture? It's like I see it as it reminded me of the elements in nature, right? So you can be the water and mutable, but you can also turn to ice cold that does not move, right? So it's almost like that changeability. How did that come to your awareness?
Day 4, when we learned the Vipassana technique and we
The
started
scan.
practicing, and I just waterworks, like silently was crying, which I think everyone cried, by the way, but no one made a sound because the entire meditation hall is quiet, or at least everyone's trying to be quiet in the meditation hall to not disturb anyone.
Ah, yeah.
And so I was silently crying, and I just had this overwhelming sensation of gratitude for my family and just feeling so happy that like everyone in my family gets along. We all really love each other. We all like try for one another. And that was kind of the tipping point for me of being like, oh right, I need to stay here because this is giving me something. I am working through something. Even if I don't consciously know what's going on, like things are coming
Yeah.
up. I'm feeling them and moving through them. And that's when I started realizing, oh, maybe I haven't been operating in gratitude. Maybe I haven't been
Mm,
operating as though the things in my life, my family, where I live, like what I do, like my friends, like maybe I haven't been operating at that like high gratitude frequency of just being like, wow, like I get to like be here and live life this way. And like, wow, all of these things are in my life. Wait, why haven't I been operating this way? And then it
Mm.
started kind of like unraveling in the mind. But it was that like felt sensation first that I started realizing that, oh yeah, there's been something here that I haven't realized. It's been totally unconscious, this negative state that I've been in.
Yeah. And was it like if you were to almost compare it to somatic work, as you're aware of somatic work, it's almost like is it even comparable to the somatic release, or is it not?
It's so different.
Yeah.
At first, I was like, "Man, this is somatic work." You know, like I've done this. And then I realized this is a totally different access point, and I think that's what all these healing modalities are for, right? It's like different access points in order to like move through things and get to know yourself better and love yourself better. And this was such a unique access point for me that, having the patience, it's not like somatic work where it's like, like going into something and you're like putting in this effort. It's very passive, right? Because you're just sitting. You're not
Hmm.
changing your breathing. You're not doing anything except just focusing on the sensation. Laser focus because you've been practicing focusing on a specific area for days. And so your mind's like very clear and very concentrated on the sensation. Whereas when I've done somatic work, there you're like moving and, maybe vocalization and like doing a breathing pattern. And so there's like a lot more that's going on, and both can give you amazing
Breakthroughs.
results and breakthroughs and transformations. But this was just like it was so different.
Mm. So simple,
So
and
simple.
yet so complicated, so hard to do.
Yeah.
And I'm curious, did you have a peak
Yeah, I
of,
did.
okay, so can you tell us about your
Yeah.
peak?
Yeah. And then I want to hear yours because I wonder if it
Okay.
happened on similar days.
All right.
Um, Mine happened on day 8,
Mm.
where, wait, was it day 8? I think it was day 7. Day 8 was a tough day. It was day 7. Day 7, I just felt absolutely silly and playful.
I
And
love
that
that.
was the peak where I was like laughing to myself, just walking around the
Mm.
meditation. Like when we could do like take our walks outside, I was walking on the walking path and I was like, all right, I'm just gonna start walking backwards and like change it up today. And then I was like, just kind of hopping on some bigger rocks at another point and just had these like moments of giggle outbursts to myself.
Yeah. And this came out of blue, out of your body. Did you feel it in your body? Was it like a different texture in your body?
Oh yeah. It was like carbonation in my body, like champagne bubbles, just so like light and giggly and fun. And um,
Wow.
we can't interact with anyone, right? We couldn't make eye contact, we couldn't talk, we couldn't touch. But all I wanted to do was like look at people and like just laugh at them and get them to giggle with me because of how just funny the entire situation was. Nothing was making me laugh, everything was making me laugh. It was so joyful. That was the
Yeah.
peak.
Wow. So in short, I'll tell you mine because this is all about you, but okay, I'll share mine too. Um, I also had going through almost this like timeline through it. I also had a massive sexual desire, but it was so precise, Rebecca. It
Mm.
was almost like I was able to zoom right in and zoom then out and actually go into an every single detail
Oh,
of mapping of it. And I was like, wow,
so
I did
good.
not know. Usually I'm out of earth, right? So I naturally think big and I just have like my viewpoint was usually really organically very big, but this was just like zoomed in,
Mm.
precise, like almost under the microscope version of it. And then that passed through. And then when we started doing the Vipassana and the technique from going to the top down through the body, I was so fascinated because my mind was like, oh, new information, let's go. And it's like, then I started going so slow that my mind got bored and started like going out really fast. So I asked the teacher, and she goes, don't let it be bored. You have to speed up the process a little bit. So I tried
Mm.
that. And on the day 6 was my peak. And in this peak, I think when we started scanning up and down constantly, and I think when the sheath was available for us to move through the left, to the side, up and down, front and back, oh my God, I completely lost the sense of my body, as if I no longer had my body. And it was
Mm.
just very passing through. And my concentration was very much so precise that I directed my mind to just do that up and down. It wasn't bored. It was doing exactly what it needed to do. And then I started passing through my organs and I didn't feel the edges of my body. I was aware that
So
my skin did
good.
not end. And I just said so. I had this example. I was like, I held my hands like this often. I thought my hand was here. I literally felt my hand being above. And I'm like, how is this possible? I love this so much. And the time just shrank down and it disappeared really quick. And I think this was the moment when I pushed through the pain of the body, of the limits of the body, because I was, the sitting in one position really draws your attention a lot. So you have to always come back to it, come back. And there's this moment when you just push the limits of your body and then the pain disappears and you
Mm.
almost no longer feel the body. But day 7, terrible day. Then 8, I had a giggle and I could not stop laughing. Same like you. So it was interesting. So now I'm curious, is the collective going through the same exact thing? Because we're literally grouped together with the same intention coming down into our body. There's nothing else that we're doing other than just training the mind and feeling and finding and searching for sensations. I wonder, did we even create the field together? That we almost went through the same similar experience at the same timeline?
Oh, I believe that.
Wow.
Definitely. I was even thinking about how all of our auras were merging together in the meditation hall and just our energies, feeling into one another. And I remember specifically when we were having our lovely bathroom conversation and someone was uh, mentioning how someone else was sitting so still. And then the person behind that person was like, wait, I thought you were sitting so still. And then
Uh-huh.
you said that. And then I was like, wait, I thought the same thing about you. And then the next day, someone behind me told me that. And I was like, that's so fascinating that we all had the same thought about the person sitting in front of us, but we didn't feel that about ourselves. We thought about it about the person in front of us.
Yeah. We owned the thought, but yet, was it really ours? Or was
Right.
it like collective creation of it?
Hmm.
Now we're, using the mind to dive even deeper into possibilities. But wow, that is mind blowing. And have you been to spaces before where the collective, the bodies, the energies, the intention creates such a field that you almost like feel a collective buzz around you?
Hmm. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
And
very much believe in that cultivation of the space and that everyone
yeah.
has a part to play.
So do you think all of us there, what was it, like 80 of us, half men, half women, were meant to be at the same place at the same time?
I don't know if it's like we were meant to be in the same place at the same time, but I think because we all got something because of that, because of our
Mm,
unique energetic signature being there.
mm,
We all helped each other in one way or another be medicine for one another.
yeah, well said. Oh, 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 oh. Okay, so, and then what happened day 8, 9, and 10? How was now
Mm.
exiting and slowly knowing that the time is almost done? Did your mind get like all happy, like mine?
It
Were you
actually
able to
got
go back?
It actually got a little sad on the last day. I have
Oh.
this experience every time I go on vacation or if I'm in a new place with a group of people, if I'm at a retreat. I have this little like twinge of grief for an
Mm,
experience ending.
mm,
And so I felt that at first. And I didn't really feel the excitement for reintegrating until I was driving out of the retreat
mm,
center. And I started thinking about everything else that I was coming back to. And that's when the excitement started to grow.
Mm.
But when we first started talking, I felt an overwhelming sense of overstimulation. And I
Oh, because you
remember,
were in the kitchen, right? You were at the cafeteria,
hmm
and then you
yeah,
came back to the bathroom.
yeah. I was like, I gotta get out of here.
So how was that for you? Shocking.
It was shocking. It was a little like, oh no, like I know everyone just based on their energy. Like we don't really necessarily have to introduce our voice and explain one another. Like I already know you type of
Hmm.
deal. Um, I think the way that they do it is really smart because if we just entered out into the world, that would have been even more overstimulating and overwhelming. But the way that we were able to do it and kind of have that smaller group in the bathroom talking first and sharing experiences was really nice to then like kind of open up to like other people, that
Yeah.
we weren't living in the same building with, that like whose energies we weren't already familiar with. And
Mm.
so I think that's really interesting just in life, like how many energies we come across and interact with. And we kind of just brush it off like it ain't no thing. But it truly is so incredible that we get to interact with one another and share experiences and energy with one another. And we can go so deep with one another.
Mhm.
But most of society stays very surface level.
Mhm.
And so that was my experience. Does that answer your
Super.
question?
Yeah, I mean, when you said we can connect on a such a deep, deep level with one another, but yet we're almost like we don't have time for it, right? We'll almost like pull,
Exactly.
push, and pull. And what I really love about the ending of it was that we did not talk for 10 days, but yet we went through the same thing, which means we bond, almost like understood each other.
Mhm.
No, we almost didn't know each other's name. What's your background? We knew nothing about one another. But yet, 10 days after, there's this certain connection that it's completely unverbalized. And yet,
Mhm.
it's a full on trust. So I remember there was you
Yeah.
coming at the bathroom and you looked at me and you're like, how was it? I'm like, immediately. And you were the first that I talked to.
You were the first I talked to as well.
Yeah, because you came and almost like you completely understand what I'm about to say, and I understand what you're about to ask or exchange. So our exchange was such a deeper, deeper level. And then other girls joined us. It was like five, six of us in the bathroom. And as one after another came, it was just bursting through the eyes. Everyone was just like crying because it was such a profound experience. What I find fascinating is that we do connect. We have this natural tendency, natural, almost automatic, to connect and understand one another without saying the word, right?
Mhm.
The moment we say something, we kind of ruin it. Almost like it's there to connect on a surface level, the communication. But when you speak from your own experience, you connect on the experiential level. And the voices, we were just like whispering in the bathroom. We didn't say so much. We were just like allowing. You remember? Because I
Mhm.
was like scanning everybody, had a time to think, to
Mhm.
process. Everyone gave each other time. And it was just like slow movement of slow words, slow voice, low tonality, chosen words, not so much blah, 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 blah. And it was just like, wow, we get to do this as humans after experiencing something together. It's almost
Mhm.
like having a coffee with a good friend that you don't really have to talk to, yet you feel
Exactly.
so comfortable with because we
Mhm.
went through the same exact thing.
Mhm. And even
Wow.
being just in that space and just feeling everyone just from their body and their energy to then being able to like look in their eyes because we weren't making eye contact, right? So we kind of got to know everyone. At least this was in my mind, like from the shoulders down, because I was avoiding their face so I didn't accidentally look them in the eyes. And so then to be able to take them in, all of their facial features and their eyes, it was like that was an entirely different layer of
Hmm.
communication. And so just being able to kind of do that was astounding to me. It was like, oh, now I'm getting to know you even more. Even though I know your energy, like now I can see so much more of what's happening up here and in your eyes. And Yeah, it
I
was
love it.
beautiful. It was beautiful.
Yeah. You layered this persona, this look, this voice, this vocabulary, this institutionalized knowledge, intellect on the top of something that it's more profound. And when perspective is almost, I always like to say, when the information is coming from the heart, from the experience, and you build up on it, the foundation is much different than building top down. Like,
Hmm.
this is who I am, and you demanding to build some structure. So almost like it's such a different perspective to build a unique acceptance of everyone's differences.
Hmm.
And it's easy. Then it becomes so easy to accept one another. Wow. No judgment, no envy, no jealousy. None of these, like, I'm better, none of these a comparison shows up when the base is completely experiential and
Hmm.
deep like that.
Yeah, it was like, wow, we get to speak to one another now. Like, let me give you my full attention and presence because we've just been doing that for ourselves for the past 10 days and now I get to give that to someone else and really
Yeah.
like be here and you get to do that for me and we get to interact in this way that really like integrates and deepens the experience that much more because of that shared experience, right? Like I remember looking at
Mm.
you and we just kind of like smiled and started laughing because it
Yeah.
was just we understood
Yeah.
immediately.
We knew.
Uh-huh.
We knew. So how was then coming back to the cafeteria after our talk how was then integrating back into the loud connection? Almost like excitement to come out of the silence.
Mhm. Yeah, almost this like excitement and desire to know if everyone or other people that I was experiencing throughout the 10 days had similar experiences or there were certain interactions where because I couldn't explain myself, I knew that someone thought something about a situation that happened that was completely untrue. And so I had to go then like verbalize what happened and explain and hear their side of the situation. And like that was really exciting because it was like, okay, something happened, but there was one reality and I believe something different and they believe something different, but we couldn't talk
Mm.
about it.
And then you
Yeah. And so
cleared
being
it.
able to clear it at the end. And I just thought to myself, wow, how many times does that happen in the world where there's, one reality, one true story, but two people make up a completely different story and neither of them is right. And both
Oh,
of them then have like maybe frustration towards one another or think the other person's mad at them. And the other person thinks that they're mad at them. And it's just not the case. It's just this story that you made up because of assumption, because of an experience, because there's miscommunication.
hmm. And pure protection. It comes as a almost like self-protection. And it's like,
Mhm.
"Mm, I
Yep.
assume I don't know anything. This is all I have." And the mind just does so much to give you the story, which you never know is it truth or not. But
Right.
yet the story is there. And what you're saying is that the moment when you know how to drop back in, and when you know the truth, that you tap into it, and you're able to speak from a very different experience about that
Mhm.
truth, and really the story has nowhere else to go than just to vanish.
Exactly.
Oh,
Yeah. And so, like, those sankharas, those impressions of the mind and the water, the sand, or the concrete, it's like, oh, we don't have to make it, something that's in the concrete. We don't have to like put it
mm,
into this like story that we continuously tell ourselves. It can be more of like a water sankara that like just moves right along and
yeah.
changes a lot faster.
So are you aware now we're coming out and we're already out, and it's been like what, 2 weeks since we integrated back into the reality? And are you now aware to catch yourself really, like, does your mind go, you're creating Sankara? mm, don't do it that way. That's a wrong way. Another one for you to deal later, right?
It
Does your mind go like that?
It's faster. It catches it faster, definitely. Where there's been situations that have happened and I can see it at a different level, like the perspective has shifted. Whereas in the
Mhm.
past, I would have gotten caught in it or have been completely unconscious of it. Where now I can see it and be like, oh, I'm doing that thing. Oh, wait, I don't have to do that thing. Or,
Mm.
I can make a different story about it or change the behavior or whatever the case. But, I think as humans, like, there's always, we're going to get caught and we're going to make up stories and la la la. But for now, coming right out, like, it is a lot faster. And I hope that keeping up the practice, it will stay.
Mm.
I think
Yeah.
that's the goal, right? Is like to be able to see truth for what it is and not get lost in the mind.
Mm. Yeah. I guess not to react or to
Hmm.
react differently. So,
Hmm.
question for you. Do you feel, I'm going to ask, do you feel or not think, do you, do you feel that this technique is also isolating? Meaning, let me rephrase, meaning it is so good and so healthy and so beneficial for you, for the surroundings, for everybody that crosses your path, because you're now almost like coming with a different set of narratives, with a different set of energies, with a different set of radiation of these like fields out of you, right? Your aura changes. You're just like more, even you and I, if you didn't notice, when we started talking, it instantaneously went down to the subtle level. Did you notice? I'm usually really loud when I talk to other people because I match their energy, but this one was just like boop right
I
back into
felt it
where,
too.
right?
Hmm.
So do you think the technique itself, because it's really rarely done, I don't know anybody around me that did it, right? So when you show up with someone who knows how to do this technique, it's almost like nobody else is going to understand it unless they experience it, right? Do you think itself, a technique in this way of practice can be isolating from people around you?
That's such a good question. I've never thought about it like that. I don't think it's isolating per se, but the practice in and of itself does cause you to be isolated.
Mm,
Meaning that, you're going inward and you're needing, more time by yourself, and it's like quiet, and the practice is an hour. The recommended once you go through the 10-day is an hour in the morning, an hour in the evening, and that like physically is more isolating, right? Like you kind of dropping out of your daily routine or daily life or your daily connection to like be by yourself. But I think the technique, in my experience, has helped me connect with people on a
mm,
deeper level, which is not isolating. And
mm,
people are so curious about it and want to know. And it's brought up such incredible conversations to my life. And people that I maybe necessarily wouldn't have connected with are very curious. And so I think
mm,
that part hasn't been isolating.
mm. let me let me ask a sub question related to
Hmm.
that. So you know how, well, releasing sankharas and releasing and allowing these like attachments to dissolve and almost like come and go and pass through us and almost very much like vanish, right? Or disappear. So will we and our energy changes so much so that all these different connections around us are almost like falling off eventually once you start practicing, and once you start like almost like bringing yourself in such an equilibrium on the energetic level of the awareness of the mind, body, spirit, energy, everything being so like flatlined, almost like non-reactive. And if somebody, the fly, if
Hmm.
somebody comes in and pushes that button, and now your reaction becomes very different, and you're like, I don't want to react this way,
Hmm.
right? So it's almost like the connections that we have almost get rejuvenated. What
Yeah.
no longer serves falls off, the new ones are coming in. And what's
Mhm.
interesting is that when we allow them to fall off, we don't really, almost like, when the connection is completed and done and over and there's nothing you can do.
Yeah.
And like question that was raised by one of the souls that I met at the Vipassana was very much like, I'm just doing me and I'm just not creating more sankharas. But when you have someone outside in your world who doesn't understand this technique, and yet you feel completely like you just fell off his life or her life, and they're sitting here in a total agony of what just happened, where are you
Yeah.
going, what just happened. It's almost like it's really hard. It sounded like it's really hard to explain the technique to someone, even harder to make them do it. They have to be ready for it, but also to not have mind get you in involvement of, ooh, I'm protecting myself, not doing sankaras whatsoever. Because by you not doing it, you're isolating, you're almost creating sankaras for someone else who lives now in the agony thinking, what just happened? Like, how are you just like, where is this? Right.
Mhm.
So I wonder, you know, allowing life to flow and allowing and accepting all these to fall off from your life and all these welcomings to come in. How would you deal with this exact scene in your life?
Yeah.
Letting
Yeah,
go
it's a
and
good
welcoming in.
question. Yeah, and patience and to know that like everything that's falling off is for your greatest good because you are vibrating at a different frequency, if you will. You know, you're showing up in a different energy, and the energies that aren't able to match that or be in that, like to know that that's okay, you know, to stay true to yourself. And the people that maybe are like combative or like not understanding, or you know, maybe they're curious but they're not going to try it, just to really have compassion for them, right? Like we were taught compassion very much so during this course, and that's something that they very much teach, right? It's like being compassionate with yourself but also compassionate with others, and to know that like you can't control the world around you, you can't control people around you, and to stay equanimous to all of it. Whether
Mhm.
it's the person coming in, whether it's the person going, even thinking about like marriage and death, like nothing is going to last forever. Everything is going to change. Everything is changing every single moment, and you can't get attached to it no matter how much you crave it or how much you don't want it here and avert it, right? That's the teaching. Bottom line, just to be here, be with everything, and to not be attached. So you can't be attached to those relationship dynamics that maybe felt familiar, you know, and that's probably a whole nother podcast talking about
Oh,
attachment
yeah.
style, but
Oh, I was just about to say, I think we have a lot to say on detachment because it's trendy.
Mhm.
Nowadays in California and LA, you hear it like, I want to detach. How do I do non-attachment? Non-attachment.
Let
It's
me
like,
surrender. Yeah.
wow.
But to truly do that and be compassionate, I think that's how you hold the space for whoever's coming in or out of your life.
Yeah. And almost observing how you react to it. And I think it really, for it takes two to exchange the
Hmm.
energy and multiply it and get into this vortex of zoop, kind of gets like sucked in right away. But it also takes growing that awareness. And I think to me, what was most important thing from Vipassana was like, holy moly, my awareness is different thing. I
Mm.
thought my awareness was voice from this angle or that angle, or sometimes I decide it's not mine. Sometimes I say it's mine because it's intuitive. It's like I
Mhm.
didn't know, but the awareness that things are happening, I think really brings you back to the equilibrium and almost like levels you down, regulates you
Yeah.
so much that you can take on anything that comes your way in a very different settle level. It's just that awareness coming back to.
It's so good. And even just the entire awareness on like a visual level, I've been doing daily walks and I can see more things. Like my focus and just the way that I'm looking at the world, there's almost more like spatial awareness where let's say I'm walking through a park and I can almost see all of the trees in the park, whereas I maybe saw like just the like two or three in front of me as I'm walking on this path. It's like, no, I can see all of them now. But then as I'm walking, I can also see like these precise leaves and like the little edges of the leaves on the trees. Whereas before I was just kind of seeing like the two, three trees and the sidewalk.
More precise.
It's more precise and at the same time expanded. It's
Yeah.
incredible. Have you had that experience, like just in your own like visualization or just like awareness?
Not to that extent. I think I guess I I I got more patience and slow because
Mm.
I am not a slow person. I am not a slow person. I'm not a slow thinker. I think speed 200 miles an hour. So my mind is very, very busy. But this to me was very much, ooh, slow down and
Mm.
feel and sit with it. Right. So very different. Wow,
Mhm.
Rebecca. Mm. Thank you. This was 1 minute. And it felt like 1 minute
So
of 1
good.
hour. We should totally do it again.
I would love that. This has been so much fun. And
Same.
I'm so grateful that we both had that experience of like having a podcast drop in to help integrate and share our stories and our experiences. And I'm so glad that you brought that up to me. So thank you.
See, same thought. And I think I can
Was it
continue.
ours? We don't know.
Well, I'd love to have you on another session for sure, and we can talk. I think there's so much more to unravel, and with this energy, I think it's just it comes out of heart,
Mhm.
not out of the mind. So I thank you so much. Thank you so, so, so much.
Back at you. Thank you. Appreciate
Okay,
you.
we'll talk soon. Ciao, babe.
Bye.